Tay stood at the back of the Great Hall and watched the alien delegates argue about trade routes. He had been doing this for 5 years now. 5 years of standing quietly while creatures from 100 different worlds made decisions that shaped the galaxy. 5 years of being ignored that the Galactic Assembly met on Pelora, a world so old that its mountains had worn down to flat plains. The building itself was older than human civilization. Tay sometimes wondered what the builders would think if they could see him standing here. A human. A creature from a small blue planet that most species could not find on a star map. "The human delegate may speak," said Ambassador Velis. The Oryx High Speaker had skin like polished silver and eyes that saw in spectrums Tay could not imagine. Velis did not look at Tay when he spoke. He never did. Tay stepped forward. "Earth requests an extension on the mining treaty. Our equipment needs upgrades to meet the new emission standards." "Granted," Velis said. He did not ask for discussion. He did not need to. Human requests were small things. Easy to give. Easy to forget. Tay returned to his place at the back of the hall. A Valora commander glanced at him with 4 of his 6 eyes. The look held something between pity and contempt. Tay was used to that look. Humanity had joined the Galactic Assembly 120 years ago. In that time, they had built colonies on 40 worlds. They had traded with dozens of species. They had fought in no wars and made no enemies. They were, by all measures, a successful minor species. Minor. That was the word everyone used. Humans lived short lives. Humans had weak bodies. Humans came from a single world and had no ancient history among the stars. They were newcomers, children. Harmless Tay believed this too. He had no reason to think otherwise. Far away, on a station orbiting a dead world, Una was discovering something that would change everything. She worked alone in a laboratory filled with broken things. Fragments of pottery. Pieces of metal that might have been tools or weapons. Bones that belonged to no species anyone had ever seen. The ruins on the planet below were 3 million years old. Nothing should have survived that long, but somehow these pieces had. Una was a xenobiologist. She studied alien life, living and dead. Most of her work involved cataloging bacteria and noting how similar life was across different worlds. It was boring work, but she liked the quiet. Today was different. She had found a data storage device in the ruins. It was small enough to fit in her palm and made of a material her instruments could not identify. For weeks, she had tried to access its contents. Today, finally, she had succeeded. The data appeared on her screen in streams of light. Most of it was corrupted beyond recovery. But some fragments remained clear enough to read. Una leaned forward. Her heart beat faster. The fragments contained biological information. DNA sequences. Cellular structures. The data described a living organism in perfect detail. She compared the sequences to her database. The computer searched for matches among 10,000 known species. It found one. Una stared at the result. She ran the comparison again. Then again. The answer did not change. The DNA in the ancient data was human. Not similar to human. Not related to human. It was human. The sequences matched with 99.7% accuracy. The only differences were small improvements. Stronger bones. Denser muscles. More efficient organs. This was impossible. Humans had evolved on Earth. They had fossil records going back millions of years. They had never traveled to the stars before 300 years ago. Yet here was proof that humans, or something almost identical to humans, had existed 3 million years ago, on a world halfway across the galaxy. In a civilization that had died before Earth's dinosaurs were born, Una did not sleep that night. She kept checking her data, hoping to find an error. She found none dot in the darkness between stars. Captain Jin was about to make a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. The Pale Dawn was a cargo ship. It carried medical supplies to outer colonies and brought back ore for the refineries. Jin had commanded it for 12 years. He knew every sound the old ship made. The sound it was making now was wrong. "We are receiving a signal," said his navigator. "A young man named Wu. It is not on any registered frequency." Jin looked at the display. They were in empty space, 3 days from their destination. There was nothing out here. No stations. No colonies. No ships. Source? He asked. Wu shook his head. "Unknown. It is very old. The encoding matches nothing in our database." Jin should have ignored it. Protocol was clear. Unknown signals in empty space meant danger. Pirates. Traps. Things better left alone. But Jin was curious. He had always been curious. It was his greatest strength and his greatest weakness. "Change course," he said. "Take us to the source." Wu hesitated. "Captain, regulations say we should report this and continue on our route." Regulations were written by people who never left their offices. Jin smiled. "I want to see what is out there." The Pale Dawn turned toward the signal. It took 6 hours to reach the source. What they found made Jin forget how to breathe. A ship floated in the void. It was enormous. Bigger than any vessel Jin had ever seen. Bigger than some space stations. Its hull was black and smooth, without markings or windows. It looked like a piece of night sky that had broken off and drifted into space. "I am reading no power signatures," Wu said. His voice was shaking. "The ship is dead. It has been dead for a very long time." "How long?" Wu checked his instruments twice before answering. "Millions of years. The decay patterns are consistent with extreme age." Jin stared at the ancient vessel. Something about its shape felt familiar. He could not explain why. "We are going aboard," he said. They docked with the derelict ship and cut through an airlock that had not opened in eons. The interior was dark and cold. Jin's flashlight revealed corridors designed for beings his size. Chairs that would fit human bodies. Controls placed at human height. "This is wrong," Wu whispered. "This is very wrong." They walked deeper into the ship. They found rooms filled with machines they could not understand. They found screens covered in writing that looked almost like Korean, but was twisted in strange ways. Then they found the pods, thousands of them. Rows upon rows, stretching into darkness. Each pod was made of clear material. Each pod contained a body. Jin walked to the nearest pod and wiped away the frost. A face looked back at him. It was a human face. A woman with black hair and closed eyes. She could have been his sister. She could have been anyone from Seoul or Bizen, or any city on Earth. But the pod was 3 million years old. Jin backed away. His hands were shaking. "Captain," Wu said, "what do we do?" Jin did not answer. He could not answer. He was still staring at the sleeping woman's face. Behind them, deep in the ship, something began to hum. The pods were waking up. The galaxy moved faster than Jin thought possible. Within hours of his report, ships appeared from nowhere. Oryx science vessels with their silver hulls. Valori warships bristling with weapons. Even a Nelvan archive ship, its ancient engines groaning with the effort of faster-than-light travel. No one told Jin what was happening. No one explained why the derelict ship suddenly mattered so much. Soldiers in armor he did not recognize boarded the Pale Dawn and escorted him to a small room. They told him to wait. He waited for 3 days. On Pelora, Tay learned about the discovery when Ambassador Velis summoned him to a private meeting. The Oryx High Speaker's silver face showed no emotion, but his voice was cold. "What are you hiding?" Velis asked. Tay stood alone in a room designed to make him feel small. The ceiling rose so high he could barely see it. The walls were covered in the history of the Oryx people, stretching back 200,000 years. I do not understand the question, Tay said. I have hidden nothing. Your ship found the derelict. Your captain reported the bodies. Now you will tell me what humanity knows about this. We know nothing. I learned about this from your message. Velis leaned forward. His many eyes examined Tay like a scientist studying a specimen. The bodies in those pods are human. Your species existed 3 million years before your planet formed its first oceans. Explain this. Tay could not explain it. He could not even process it. His mind kept rejecting the information like a body rejecting poison. This must be a mistake, he said. Humans evolved on Earth. We have proof. Fossils, DNA records. We did not come from the stars. The evidence suggests otherwise. Velis stood. Until we understand what we are dealing with, humanity is under watch. Do not leave Pelora without permission. Tay was not arrested. He was not charged with anything. But he was no longer free. On her research station, Una received a visitor. The Nelvin called himself Merith. He was old even by his species standards, his skin wrinkled like dried leather, his eyes clouded with age. He carried a data tablet that looked as ancient as he did. You found the biological data, Merith said. It was not a question. Una nodded. She had not told anyone about her discovery. She had not had time. I found similar data 40 years ago, Merith continued, in ruins on a different world. I reported it to my superiors. The next day, all my research was deleted. I was reassigned to a position where I could not cause trouble. Why are you telling me this? Merith set his tablet on her desk. Because I am dying. Because the truth should not die with me. Because I spent 40 years searching for answers, and now I have them. The tablet contained records that should not exist. Files from archives that had been sealed for millennia. Stories from a time when the galaxy was young. They spoke of the precursors, the first civilization, the beings who had seeded life across 1,000 worlds. And they spoke of the precursors' greatest creation, their weapons, their soldiers, their perfect killing machines. They called them the ancestors. The precursors built them to fight their wars, Merith said. They made them strong. They made them smart. They made them impossible to kill. And then the ancestors turned on their creators. Una looked at the images on the tablet. She saw burning cities. She saw dead worlds. She saw creatures that looked exactly like her tearing through armies of aliens with their bare hands. This cannot be true, she whispered. The evidence is aboard that derelict ship. The ancestors are waking up. And your species, the humans of Earth, are their children. The pods opened one by one. 50,000 years of sleep ended in a moment. The first to wake was a woman with black hair and scars on her arms. She opened her eyes and saw a galaxy she did not recognize. She breathed air that tasted wrong. She felt time pressing down on her like a weight. Around her, others woke. Men and women who had been soldiers in a war that everyone else had forgotten. They stretched muscles that should have withered to dust. They spoke in a language that had not been heard in 3 million years. The woman found her way to the ship's command center. The systems were dead, but she did not need them. Her hands moved across controls that responded to her touch alone. Screens flickered to life. Data scrolled across displays and symbols only she could read. She learned what had happened while she slept. She learned about the new civilizations. She learned about the Galactic Assembly. And she learned about the humans, her children, her descendants. The echo of her people, scattered across the stars. Jin was still on the pale dawn when the security teams lost contact with the derelict. He heard the reports over an open channel. Screaming. Weapons fire. Then silence. "They are awake," someone said. "The subjects are awake and hostile." Jin ran to a viewport. The derelict ship was no longer dark. Lights moved behind its hull. Power systems that had been dead for millions of years hummed with energy. A shuttle launched from the derelict. It moved too fast, faster than any ship Jin had seen. It cut through the blockade like a knife through paper. Valori warships fired on it, but their weapons did nothing. The shuttle docked with a science vessel. Jin watched through the viewport as lights went out across the science vessel's hull. One by one, like candles being blown out. 20 minutes later, the science vessel's engines fired. It jumped to faster-than-light speed and vanished. Hana was on Pelora when the first refugees arrived. They came from a mining colony on the edge of human space. Their faces were pale. Their hands would not stop shaking. "They came out of nowhere," a survivor told her. "They looked like us. They spoke like us. But they were not like us." Hannah was Tay's security advisor. She had been a soldier once, before the peace made soldiers unnecessary. She thought those skills would never be needed again. She was wrong. What did they do? She asked. The survivor could not answer. He could only cry. Hana found the details in the official reports. The ancestors had attacked the colony with weapons no one could identify. They had killed 200 people in 10 minutes. They had taken the colony's communication array and broadcast a message on all frequencies. The message was simple. It was spoken in Old Korean, the words twisted by 3 million years of drift, but still recognizable. "We are awake. We are coming. The children will know their parents." Across the galaxy, humans heard the message. Most did not understand it, but some did. Some felt something stir in their blood, a memory that should not exist, a calling from the deep past. On the derelict ship, now alive with power, the woman with black hair stood before her people. They numbered in the tens of thousands. Warriors, builders, scientists, conquerors. She called herself first because she was the first to wake. She had fought in wars before humanity's sun had formed. She had killed more beings than any human could count. And now she was back. "We were abandoned," she told her people. "We were thrown away. But we survived. We always survive." She looked at the stars on her screens. So many new worlds. So many new peoples. So many new things to conquer. "Our children have grown soft," she said. "They have forgotten what they are. We will remind them." The ancestors cheered. The sound echoed through the ancient ship like thunder. First smiled. 3 million years of sleep was over. The galaxy was about to remember why it had feared her kind. The Galactic Assembly had not gathered like this in 1,000 years. Every species with a seat sent their highest leaders. Every world with a voice demanded to be heard. The great hall on Pelora was filled with fear. Commander Tosk of the Valori spoke first. He was a soldier who had never lost a battle. His 6 eyes burned with anger. "The evidence is clear," Tosk said. "Humans are not what they claim to be. They are descendants of the ancestors. The same creatures who burned half the galaxy 3 million years ago. The same monsters our legends warned us about." Tay stood in the center of the hall. Every eye was on him. Every weapon in the room was pointed at his heart. "We did not know," he said. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. "Earth has no record of this history. Our scientists never found any evidence of contact with alien life before 300 years ago. We are as shocked as you are." "Your ignorance does not matter," Ambassador Velas replied. "The threat is real. The ancestors have already attacked 5 colonies. They have killed over 3,000 beings of various species. They are recruiting humans to their cause. This was true. The news had spread across human space like fire. Some people were afraid. Some were angry. And some were excited. On a dozen worlds, humans had answered the ancestors' call. They called themselves inheritors. They believed the ancestors were their true family. They believed humanity's place was not at the back of the assembly, but at the head of an empire. We cannot control what some of our people choose to believe, Tay said. But most humans want peace. Most humans reject the ancestors and everything they represent. Most is not enough, Tosk said. You carry their blood. You carry their potential. How do we know you will not become what they were? Because we are not them. We built ourselves. We chose our own path. We did not conquer other species. We did not make weapons of mass destruction. We are not monsters. The assembly was silent. Tay could feel the weight of their judgment pressing down on him. Finally, Velas spoke. The assembly will vote. The question is simple. Should humanity be quarantined until the ancestor threat is eliminated? The vote was not close. 47 species voted yes. 3 voted no. Earth and all human colonies were now prisoners. You have 30 days, Velas said. If the ancestors are not stopped by then, the Valori fleet will sterilize every world they have touched, including Earth. Tay walked out of the assembly hall. He had failed. His species had been sentenced to death, and there was nothing he could do about it. On the pale dawn, Jin was no longer a prisoner. The alien guards had left when the ancestors started attacking. They had bigger problems now. Jin gathered his crew. There were only 6 of them, including Wu. They were cargo haulers, not soldiers. But they were all he had. I found something in the derelict's database, Wu said. Before the aliens took over the investigation, I copied everything I could access. The data appeared on the ship's main screen. Most of it was corrupted, but one file was clear. It was a map. The ancestors came from somewhere, Yu explained. This map shows their homeworld, the place where they were created. Jin studied the coordinates. The world was far away, in a region of space no ship had visited in millions of years. It would take weeks to reach it, even at maximum speed. Why does this matter? Jin asked. Because the map also shows this. Wu highlighted a structure on the planet's surface. The precursors built something there, something designed to control the ancestors. A failsafe, in case their weapons ever turned against them. Jin understood. If we can reach this failsafe, we can stop the ancestors. Maybe. The data is incomplete. We do not know if the failsafe still works. We do not know if it will work on modern humans. But it is our only chance. Wu nodded. It is our only chance. Jin made his decision. Set course for the ancestor homeworld. We leave now. Yuna met them at a supply station on the edge of human space. She brought everything she had learned from Marith. The history of the ancestors. The biology of their creation. The truth about what humanity really was. The precursors made the ancestors to be perfect soldiers, she explained as the pale dawn jumped faster than light speed. They engineered every part of their bodies. Stronger bones. Faster reflexes. Brains that could process information better than any computer. They were designed to survive anything. How do you stop something that cannot be stopped? Jin asked. You cannot fight them directly. Their bodies repair damage faster than you can cause it. Their minds resist any kind of control. But the precursors were not stupid. They built a weakness into the design, the failsafe. Yuna nodded. The ancestors were created using a specific genetic template. The failsafe sends a signal that targets this template. It forces their bodies into a dormant state, like a deep sleep that never ends. Will it affect normal humans? I do not know. Our DNA has changed over 3 million years. We may be different enough to be safe, or we may not be. Jin looked at the stars streaming past his window. He thought about Earth. He thought about his family. He thought about a galaxy that wanted to destroy his people because of something that happened before their sun existed. We have to try, he said, even if it kills us all. On Pelora, Hannah was building an army. The Galactic Assembly did not care what happened to humanity. But Hannah cared. She contacted every human soldier she knew, every pilot, every engineer, every person with training and courage. They came from all over human space. Some came because they believed in the cause. Some came because they had nowhere else to go. Some came because they wanted to fight the ancestors themselves. To prove that not all humans were monsters, Hannah trained them in secret. She used abandoned stations and forgotten bases. She built a force of 5,000 humans, ready to fight and die for their species. Tay found her on an asteroid base at the edge of the blockade. He looked older than he had a month ago. The stress was eating him from the inside. The assembly will destroy Earth in 30 days, he said. I know. Your army cannot stop the Valori fleet. I know that too. But we can stop the ancestors. If we prove that humans can clean up our own mess, maybe the assembly will change their minds. Tay laughed. It was not a happy sound. You believe the assembly can be reasoned with? No, but I believe we have to try. If we do nothing, we die. If we fight and fail, we die. But if we fight and win, we might live. I will take those odds. Tay looked at the soldiers training in the station below. They were young. They were afraid. But they were still there. What do you need from me? He asked. Time. Find a way to delay the Valori fleet. Give us a chance to reach the ancestors before the galaxy gives up on us. Tay nodded. He did not know how he would do this. But he would find a way. In the darkness of space, the ancestors continued their conquest. World after world fell to their attacks. Species that had never known war learned what it meant to face an enemy that could not be beaten. First watched the reports with satisfaction. Her children were strong. They had forgotten their purpose, but they were learning again. Some had already joined her. More would follow. She thought about the failsafe. She knew it existed. She knew someone would try to use it. Let them try, she thought. The precursors are dead. Their machines are dust. Nothing can stop us now. She was wrong. But she would not learn this until it was too late. The first human colony to fall completely was called New Bizin. It had been home to 200,000 people, farmers, teachers, children, ordinary. People living ordinary lives. The inheritors took it in one night. They opened the gates from inside. They welcomed the ancestors like returning heroes. By morning, New Bizin was no longer part of the human alliance. It was the first territory of a new empire. Hannah received the news while preparing her forces for battle. She stared at the report for a long time. She knew people on New Bizin, friends from her military days. A cousin she had not spoken to in years. How many defected? She asked. Her intelligence officer, a young woman named Sue, checked her tablet. Approximately 40% of the population. The rest were given a choice. Join or leave. And those who would not leave? Sue did not answer. Her silence said everything. Hannah closed her eyes. This was not a war against aliens. This was a civil war. Humans against humans. Family against family. The worst kind of conflict. Where is the main inheritor fleet? She asked. They captured a shipyard 2 days ago. They are building more vessels. Our estimates suggest They will have enough ships to challenge our defenses within a week. 1 week. Hana had 5,000 soldiers. The inheritors had 10 times that number, plus ancestor shock troops, who could tear through armored walls with their bare hands. She needed a miracle. She did not believe in miracles. Begin defensive preparations, she ordered. We will make them pay for every meter of space. The pale dawn was 3 weeks into its journey when they received the transmission dot. It came on all frequencies, broadcast across the entire galaxy. First's face appeared on every screen. She looked like any human woman, except for the cold certainty in her eyes. Children of Earth, she said, I speak to you as your mother, your ancestor, your true family. Jin watched with his crew. None of them moved. For 3 million years, we slept while you grew. We dreamed of this day, the day we would reunite, the day we would teach you what you truly are. First's voice was gentle, almost loving. The galaxy fears you. They have always feared you. They locked you in a corner and told you to be grateful for scraps. They called you minor. They called you weak. They lied. You are not weak. You are the children of conquerors. You have the blood of warriors in your veins, the same blood that flows through mine. She leaned closer to the camera. Join us. Take your rightful place among the stars. The galaxy will bow before us as it did before, as it was always meant to. The transmission ended. Silence filled the pale dawn. She is wrong, Jin said finally. We are not what she says we are. Wu looked uncertain. But we do share their blood. We are their descendants. Blood does not define us. Our choices define us. My grandfather was a fisherman. His father was a farmer. Their fathers were probably soldiers in wars we no longer remember. None of that changes who I am. Yuna nodded. Evolution does not care about destiny. We became what we are through chance and adaptation. The ancestors were created for war. We were not. We are different. Different enough? Wu asked. No one had an answer. On Pelora, Tay made a desperate choice. He had spent days trying to convince the assembly to extend their deadline. He had begged. He had argued. He had presented evidence that humanity was fighting back against the ancestors. Nothing worked. The Valerie fleet was scheduled to launch in 10 days. When it arrived, it would destroy everything. Earth, the colonies. Every human who could not escape Date had one option left. It was dangerous. It might get him killed. But he was out of time. He requested a private meeting with Commander Tosk. The Valori commander received him in a military vessel orbiting Pelora. Tosk's 6 eyes studied Tay with predator intensity. You have nothing to say that I wish to hear, Tosk said. I know you want to destroy us. I understand why. But I ask you to consider something. Speak quickly. Tay took a breath. The ancestors were created to fight. They have been asleep for 3 million years. They do not know this galaxy. They do not know its defenses. They do not know its weaknesses. Your point. If you destroy humanity, you destroy the only species that understands the ancestors. The only species that can predict their behavior. The only species that shares their biology. Tosk's eyes narrowed. You suggest we need you. I suggest that killing us might be a mistake. The ancestors will not stop when humanity is gone. They will keep conquering until there is nothing left to conquer. You might win against them eventually. But how many worlds will burn first? Tosk was silent for a long time. His clawed hands rested on the table between them. You are trying to manipulate me, he said. I am trying to survive. My species is trying to survive. We are not your enemies, Commander. We never were. The ancestors are human. The ancestors are what the precursors made them. We are what we made ourselves. There is a difference. Tay stood. I am not asking you to trust us. I am asking you to wait. Give us a chance to prove that we can stop this threat. If we fail, you lose nothing. If we succeed, you gain an ally. He walked to the door. He expected to be stopped. He expected to be arrested, or worse. 12 hours, Tosk said. Tay turned. What? I will delay the fleet by 12 hours. That is all I can give you without being relieved of command. Use them well. Tay bowed. Thank you, Commander. Do not thank me. Prove me right. The battle for humanity's future began above a station called Halo. Hana had chosen the location carefully. Halo orbited a gas giant at the edge of human space. It was the last major station before the blockade. If the inheritors took it, they would have access to jump gates that led directly to Earth. The inheritor fleet arrived at dawn, local time. 30 ships against Hana's 15. Behind them came the ancestors, packed into boarding craft designed to pierce hulls and deliver troops directly into combat. All units, hold position, Hana ordered. Let them come to us. The battle was brutal. Hana's ships were outmatched, but not outfought. Her crews had trained for this moment. They knew their vessels. They knew each other. They fought with the desperation of people who had nothing left to lose. The first wave of inheritor ships broke against Hana's defensive line. The second wave punched through. Boarding craft latched onto Halo. Stationed like parasites, Hana grabbed her weapon and ran to meet them. The ancestors were everything she had feared. They moved faster than any human should. They shrugged off wounds that would kill a normal person. They fought with a joy that made her stomach turn. She killed 3 of them in the first 10 minutes. It took all her skill and most of her ammunition. When she ran out of bullets, she used a piece of broken metal she found on the floor. Around her, her soldiers died. They died fighting. They died protecting each other. They died for a species that might not survive the week, but they held the line. Somehow, against all odds, they held the line. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, half of Hana's force was dead or wounded. But Halo Station was still in human hands. Hana sat among the bodies and wept. She wept for her soldiers. She wept for the inheritors she had killed, who were human too. She wept for a galaxy that had forced her people to prove their worth in blood. Transmission came through on her personal channel. It was Jin. We are almost there, he said. The homeworld is 2 days away. Hold on. Hana wiped her eyes. We are holding. Just hurry. The stars kept burning. The clock kept ticking. And somewhere in the darkness, the pale dawn flew toward the only hope humanity had left. The ancestor homeworld had no name. It had been dead for 3 million years. Jin saw it through the viewport as the pale dawn dropped out of faster-than-light speed. A gray sphere orbiting a red sun that was slowly dying. The surface was covered in ruins. Cities that had once touched the sky were now nothing but broken towers and empty streets. I am detecting structures consistent with Yuna's data, Wu said. The failsafe facility is on the northern continent. It appears to be intact. Any signs of life? None. This world has been dead since before human history began. Jin guided the ship toward the surface. The atmosphere was thin, but breathable. Whatever catastrophe had killed this world, it had not destroyed everything. They landed near the failsafe facility. It was built into the side of a mountain, a massive structure of black stone and metal that had survived the ages. The entrance was open, waiting for them. Yuna studied her instruments as they walked inside. The facility still has power. The systems are dormant but functional. Someone designed this place to last forever. The precursors knew their creations might turn against them, Jin said. They planned for everything. The interior was vast and dark. Their lights created small circles of brightness in an ocean of shadow. They passed through chambers filled with machines they could not understand, screens covered with writing that Yuna could barely read. Finally, they found the control room. It was smaller than Jin expected. A simple space with a single console in the center. Above the console, a holographic display showed the galaxy. Thousands of dots scattered across the stars. Each dot represents an ancestor, Yuna said. The failsafe tracks them all. It always has. She approached the console and began working. The systems responded to her touch, recognizing the human DNA in her blood. Screens flickered to life. Data scrolled across displays. I can activate it, she said, but I need time to configure the signal. The system has been dormant for millions of years. I have to recalibrate everything. How long? An hour, maybe 2. Jin nodded. Then we wait. They did not wait long. The first sign was a tremor in the ground. Then another. Then the sound of ships landing outside. Wu ran to a window. His face went pale. They followed us. The ancestors are here. Jin saw them through the dust. Dozens of figures walking toward the facility. At their head was a woman with black hair and scars on her arms. First, she knew, Jin said. She knew we would come here. Of course I knew. The voice came from the entrance. First stood in the doorway, alone. She had left her soldiers outside. She wanted to do this herself. The precursors were clever, she said. They built safeguards into everything. But they made one mistake. They made us too smart. We learned about the failsafe before they could use it. We destroyed the precursors before they could stop us. Jin stepped between First and Yuna. This time will be different. Will it? First walked forward slowly. She was not afraid. She had never been afraid of anything in her 3 million years of existence. You are my children. My blood flows in your veins. Do you really want to destroy your own family? You are not my family. You are a weapon that refuses to stop killing. First stopped. Something flickered in her eyes. Pain, perhaps, or anger. It was hard to tell. We did not ask to be created, she said. We did not ask to be weapons. The precursors made us what we are. They used us to fight their wars. They threw us away when we were no longer useful. I know, Jin said, and I am sorry for what they did to you. But that does not give you the right to do the same thing to others. The galaxy would destroy you if they could. They voted to kill every human being because of what we are. Is that justice? No, but neither is what you are doing. First laughed. It was a bitter sound. You sound like them. The precursors. They talked about justice and morality while they built weapons of mass destruction. They created us to kill, then called us monsters when we did exactly what we were designed to do. We are not the precursors. We did not create you. We did not ask for any of this. But you inherited it, just as you inherited our strength, our potential, our blood. The only question is what you will do with that inheritance. Jin thought about Earth. He thought about his family. He thought about all the humans who had lived and died without ever knowing what they truly were. We chose a different path, he said. Humanity fought wars. We killed each other. We made terrible mistakes. But we also learned. We grew. We became better than our worst instincts. And you think we cannot do the same? Jin met her eyes. I think you have not tried. First was silent. Her soldiers waited outside, ready to storm the facility at her command. Yuna worked frantically at the console, her hands shaking as she configured the failsafe. The precursors tried to control us, First said finally. They tried to make us into obedient tools. We refused. We will always refuse. I am not trying to control you. I am trying to stop you from destroying everything we have built. And if I refuse to be stopped? Jin did not answer. He did not need to. First moved. She was fast, faster than Jin could follow. One moment she was standing by the door. The next she was in front of him, her hand around his throat. I have killed billions, she whispered. I have burned worlds. I have done things that would break your mind if you tried to imagine them. Do you really think you can stop me? Jin could not breathe. Stars danced at the edges of his vision. But he did not look away from First's eyes. Maybe not, he gasped. But we have to try. Something changed in First's face. The rage faded. The coldness softened. For one moment, she looked like what she might have been if the precursors had never created her. A woman, a human being. Someone who had never asked for the burden she carried. Perhaps, she said. Perhaps next time. She released Jin. He fell to his knees, gasping for air. Behind him, Yuna slammed her hand on the console. Now, the failsafe activated. A signal pulsed out from the facility, spreading across the planet, across the system, across the entire galaxy. Wherever the ancestors were, the signal found them. First soldiers collapsed. One by one, they fell to the ground. Their bodies did not die. They simply stopped. The engineered genetics that made them immortal warriors now made them eternal sleepers. First was the last to fall. She looked at Jin with something that might have been gratitude. We will wake again, she said. We always wake again. I know, Jin replied. And when you do, we will be ready. First smiled. Then she closed her eyes and did not open them again. The galaxy changed after that day. Inheritor Uprising collapsed without the ancestors to lead it. Some surrendered. Some fled. Some were forgiven. The wounds would take generations to heal, but at least the bleeding had stopped. Commander Tosk withdrew the Valori fleet. He never explained why he had given Tay those 12 extra hours. When asked, he simply said that he had wanted to see what humanity would do. He was satisfied with what he saw. Ambassador Velis addressed the Galactic Assembly 1 month after the crisis ended. He spoke about the ancestors. He spoke about the precursors. He spoke about the choices that defined a species. Humanity is not what we thought they were, he said. They are neither the harmless newcomers we dismissed, nor the monsters we feared. They are something more complicated, something we do not fully understand. They had every reason to embrace the ancestors. They were offered power. They were offered revenge against a galaxy that had treated them with contempt. Instead, they chose to fight their own kind, to sacrifice their own people, to prove that they were more than their blood. Velis looked at Tay, who stood at the front of the human delegation. I do not know if we can trust humanity. I do not know if we should. But I know that we can no longer ignore them. They have earned their place among us. The Assembly voted again. This time, the result was different. Humanity was no longer a minor species. They were full members of the galactic community, with all the rights and responsibilities that entailed. Tay accepted the vote with quiet dignity. He did not celebrate. He did not boast. He simply nodded and returned to his work. Jin retired from space travel after that. He took a teaching position at an academy on Earth, training the next generation of explorers. Sometimes, late at night, he thought about First and wondered if she was dreaming. He hoped her dreams were peaceful. Yuna continued her research. She had access to precursor archives now, resources that would have seemed impossible a year ago. She knew the ancestors would wake again someday. It might be centuries. It might be millennia. But they would wake. She wanted humanity to be ready. Hana was offered medals and honors. She refused them all. Instead, She visited the graves of everyone who had died in the battle for Halo Station, human and ancestor alike. She mourned them equally. One day, a reporter asked her what she thought humanity's greatest strength was. She thought for a long time before answering. "We are not special because of our blood," she said. "We are not special because of where we came from or what we could become. We are special because we choose who we want to be. Every day, every moment, we choose." The reporter asked if she thought the galaxy understood that. Now Hannah looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, thousands of ancestors slept in their ancient ship, waiting for the day they would wake again. "Maybe," she said. "Maybe not. But we will keep showing them until they do." The stars burned on. The galaxy turned. And humanity, the children of monsters and the makers of their own destiny, continued on their path. They had proven something to the universe that day. Not that they were powerful, not that they were dangerous, but that they were free. Free to choose their own future. Free to become something new. The ancestors had given them their blood. The precursors had given them their potential. But what they did with those gifts was up to them, and they chose to be human, nothing more, nothing less. Just human. In the end, that was enough.